Raw Superstars Road to WrestleMania. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers. Talk about some wrestling.
Did this for the SmackDown Superstars. Might as well do it for the Raw. If you watch the SmackDown one, you know how it goes. If you didn't, we just like to take an in-depth look at how people get from point A to point B. Obviously, I think everybody has their Mania predictions, but what does that road really look like? How do they intertwine with each other? SmackDown, I wouldn't say was very straightforward, but it was more straightforward than Raw, at least. Raw's got a bunch of twists and turns and roadblocks, and you got to take this detour, and I don't really know where we're going.
It's going to be fun. It's Road to WrestleMania. That's what it should be. A bunch of twists and turns, and I don't know what the hell's coming next. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to start this one just like we started our SmackDown one, though. We piled all the tag teams together. I want to know what the men's tag team division, Raw, War Raiders, A-Town, Down, American Made, New Day, all that stuff. What does the road to WrestleMania look like for the Raw tag team division?
Well, that's kind of interesting, I guess, because I think I have an end point here, but how do we get there?
Yeah.
We just finished watching Raw, and the last scene was New Day beating up Rey Mysterio for 5 seconds. So we know that that's kind of a thing, and they don't like Rey, but Rey's also an LWO, but LWO doesn't really do anything. So maybe we get a New Day LWO match on Raw, or maybe the next week after, something like that. A-Town Down Under, they're going to just cut more backstage stuff and go to NXT.
NXT.
Yeah, they kind of go all around and do everything but compete, really. Alpha Academy, Alpha Babes, kind of the same thing. Cesaro was in singles action there last time we saw him. I think the main thing for the Raw tag scene is going to be the War Raiders and the Creeds.
Yes.
If it's not, they need to pivot to that. We saw the match on Raw. A little taste, a little appetizer of it. It was fantastic. You can sign me up for that. American Made, the Creed brothers specifically, really need those tag titles, especially while Chad's gone. And Chad could say, look at how well I've trained you guys. Look, the teacher has taught you guys well. You guys are now masters. I don't know, something like that. Chad's better at it than I am. But ultimately, I think that's what we get. We get kind of maybe a back and forth here or there, not in terms of Creeds taking the titles off, but maybe you have the Creeds attack them again. Maybe you do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and just start with New Day real quick. I think we're going to get an anti-New Day hosting situation at WrestleMania. I really don't foresee them having a WrestleMania match as much as that upsets me because I think the heel turn was so great, but since then it's been so meh. I think that, New Day's obviously hosted a couple WrestleManias at this point. I think seeing a heel New Day version of that hosting WrestleMania will be funny. That will have some good moments in it. But in terms of the actual things we care about, the matches on WrestleMania, the road to WrestleMania, I do foresee the War Raiders and the Creeds being the teams that they lean on to take this into WrestleMania with. But me personally, and this is just me throwing it in there, man, I hope that right before the Creeds get there, I hope Alpha Academy swoops in. I think it would just be the perfect little bow on the end of the Chad Gable stuff. They're so close, and then Chad Gable's old rivals come back and swoop in and steal the tag titles at the very end. You can have the Creeds take it from them the day after WrestleMania, all right? I just think it would be a spectacular moment. But like you said, Creeds versus War Raiders, that's going to feed families. The Raw tag team needs that tag division needs that kind of stuff because we've had a really rough year with it. But lean on them. Let's get to WrestleMania that way.
That would be kind of good if, I guess, the Creed brothers continue to fail, but they're like so close. They're so close, and then all of a sudden, notice just like, oh, these?
Oh yeah,
these?
Tozawa.
Yeah.
I mean, why have him fight Carmelo? Like they're they're giving a little effort into Tozawa, giving him some
It'd
stock.
Be fun. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, we're big Alpha Academy guys. More than we probably should be,
WrestleMania is about fun. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. And Maxine Dupree celebrating would be a good one.
Yeah.
New guy. This one, 5 question marks.
Whoa.
What in the world is Penta going to do at WrestleMania? What does his road to WrestleMania look like? What do you think?
I'm making that face because I forgot to put Penta on my list.
Uh-oh.
Which goes with your 5 question marks here. Yeah. Zero, no match.
No match.
No match. Yeah, I don't know. I think we probably just get some more showcases in terms of kind of meaningless matches, right? I mean, we talk about the Raw mid-card scene and how loaded that is and how he can kind of just wrestle people week in, week out. In terms of Mania stuff, he's got to be on the card, you would think. So what does that look like, though? No clue. No idea. I don't think there's going to be anything really meaningful. You might get a Penta showcase versus a I don't know, mystery person, something like that. And it's, I don't know, whoever, but Penta just destroys them. But how you get there?
To me, it's simple. They're going to do the Pete Dunne, Ludwig Kaiser triangle of events for the next month. And then whenever Chad Gable returns, he will return with the equivalent to Penta in heel form. And I'm thinking that it will actually be the rumored Aleister Black returning. I think that will be a WrestleMania match, maybe a smaller mid-card version of what the Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes style thing ended up being. Maybe Chad said is going to come back and say, you be ready for WrestleMania because I got somebody for you. And then we do get an Aleister Black return. Very early in the night, set the tone for the first night of WrestleMania, maybe. But I do think the way that they're selling merch and stuff, Penta is going to find himself in a match. So this is the only way that I could logically get there with the story threads that they've given us so far, because most of the time it is just Penta showcasing right now with no meat. So I think that's the only meat that I can bite off, and so that's what I put it in.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea for sure. I definitely like the idea of a returning Aleister Black, but my thing is to play devil's advocate. Or DeVille's advocate. Somebody's got to do it, right? Since she can't do it anymore. You bring Aleister Black back, and then you have him just lose to Penta.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like that kind of sucks also. They're in a tough spot with him, which is kind of weird to say.
Could be Penta's first loss too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or I mean, they, at the end of the day, maybe they're like, hey, my replacement, maybe Chad does this. Maybe they just go, Chad goes, oh, well, the person I had, he's not good enough. He doesn't know the arts. I know them. I've studied them. And so maybe as I'm sitting here thinking, spitballing, maybe you have Penta versus Chad. The match was really good on Raw on Netflix. Why not do it again?
He is learning the dark arts of the luchador right now.
Yeah, maybe he thinks he has them, and then he clearly doesn't.
You go ahead and pick the next one for us, since I picked one that you didn't have.
Well, I'm just going to take the easy one. I'm taking the free space. Dom Mysterio.
Dirty Dom.
Taking the easy one. Taking the one for the people.
Here, since it is an easy one, let's switch it up. What does a Judgment Day, Dirty Dom, Finn Balor, what does Judgment Day's Road to WrestleMania look like?
Yeah, that's a little bit tougher. In terms of what does that look like, I know Dom teased the idea of getting more members. I don't really like that idea. I would rather the Judgment Day just kind of keep dispersing into what they're doing here. Obviously, Dom is going to have a match versus AJ Styles on Raw. That's going to be fantastic. One might say phenomenal. Going to be pretty good stuff to see Dom in the ring. I think Dom gets a loss there. I think you have Finn lose to Seth Rollins, and then you look at it and Finn can't really get the job done. I think you really kind of just keep teasing that tension backstage. Carlito is just in the background saying, that's not cool. That's kind of all you get there. And then ultimately you have, I guess, Dom really kind of kicking Finn out of the Judgment Day. But I think when that happens, I think Judgment Day disperses. Does that make sense? Because like Liv and Raquel are still a thing. Dom and them are still cool. He's still cool with Carlito. He's got a problem with Finn. And I think ultimately that's where you go there.
Yeah, to answer the question, Judgment Day doesn't make it to WrestleMania. We're going to get the end. The end here is going to be Dirty Dom versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania. How we get here is maybe as soon as tonight on Raw, you got Dom losing to AJ, maybe via a Finn interference. Maybe Finn does try to help, but it ends up screwing Dom. And then maybe Dom returns the favor later in the night in the Seth Rollins match, right? And then we really get the breakup happening. I don't really know. Dom is looking like he's definitely turning face. I don't know if that's the way they go, but it seems like Dom is trying to become the leader that Judgment Day needs while Finn is, holding the team down and sticking to the past ways. But I think they all disperse. I think it's going to be Dom staying in the bubble with Liv and Raquel. And then Finn Balor goes off. And then at WrestleMania, we got Finn versus Dom, and Dirty Dom finally going to get that WrestleMania victory. I hope. And all will be right for our king.
Yeah, I don't even think you need to have the interference in either match.
Me neither.
I think
I said that.
Yeah, I think you just have them lose, and then they both just kind of, well, you lost to AJ Styles. Well, you lost to Seth Rollins. Well, I bet I could beat you. Like, maybe you get that.
Bingo bongo.
It's pretty simple. No more Clubhouse, so that kind of sucks. No more 2K.
No more 2K. What Liv going to get the money back for the PS5 she bought?
No.
Damn.
Maybe that's just a thing they do now. Maybe Dom just plays 2K.
Liv and Dom in the back playing some 2K. That'd be
Wow.
great. Let's move it on over to another one that I think is getting more and more not obvious. Sheamus. We all want him, and everybody has been saying for months and months, let's hold off till Mania, let's hold off till Mania to get him that Grand Slam title. But now that AJ Styles has kind of reinserted himself into the scene with Braun Breaker, what does Sheamus's road to WrestleMania look like? What does the Intercontinental Championship scene look like road to WrestleMania?
Yeah, I think you can really kind of package all three of these together because I think they all intertwine some way, somehow. I think AJ Styles gets the win over Dom. I feel like I'm not really surprising anybody with that pick. Maybe not this week, but maybe next week you get Sheamus returning. You have AJ Styles going on this like I'm still AJ Styles train. You could run pretty much the same thing back with Sheamus in terms of I'm still Sheamus. You could have them just kind of meet. In terms of Braun Breaker, he just kind of hangs out. Well, I'll fight you. Doesn't really matter. You guys can go at it. So you do a number one contender, but then you have like some sort of draw or something, right? And then boom, triple threat.
Yeah, I think this is the most obvious and one of the matches I want the most on the card now. Ever since AJ Styles and Braun Breaker stared down each other's eyes, I was like, okay, yep. Add him to the match at WrestleMania with Sheamus. How it works, I don't know. Maybe we do Braun Breaker and AJ Styles at Elimination Chamber, and there is some effery there with Sheamus coming back. Maybe there's something that happens, right? You can even count them out. I don't care. But push it off another month to WrestleMania. Have Sheamus return in the meantime, and then just get that triple threat match going. Obviously, we've seen Sheamus in triple threat matches at WrestleMania before. They're always incredible. These three guys would be incredible. I don't care who wins. No, I do. I do care who wins. Sheamus still needs to win this. I don't care that AJ Styles just returned. I don't care that Braun Breaker is a badass. Get Sheamus that Grand Slam championship at WrestleMania, but this should just be a good old-fashioned beat the hell out of each other build up over the next 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Braun Breaker drop the title before on a Raw.
Yep.
So maybe you get him and AJ. I mean, maybe you get that at one point, and maybe AJ gets that, and maybe AJ carries it into Mania. You know, who knows, right? In terms of how we get there, it doesn't really matter to me how we really get there, which is kind of the anti-purpose of the video. But as long as those three are in the ring at the end of the day, as long as it's for the IC title, sign me up.
It would suck for the rest of the card because nobody's going to beat that match. It's going to be incredible. I mean, they're going to destroy that announce table that doesn't break is breaking. It's going to be awesome.
Braun Breaker tries his double clothesline thingy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead now. You said, how does the Judgment Day breakup happen, I guess? So you said Dom and Liv stay together, but what does that path really look like for Liv? I think that's a really big kind of question mark. I think some of us thought, well, she had a really good year last year. She should probably be in a marquee match, right? Well, it doesn't really look that way for me. I think her and Raquel are going to continue teaming. I think the match that they had with Damage Control on Raw really showcased Liv's ability to kind of play the skittish heel, right, in terms of running away behind the more powerful Raquel. Raquel looked great. If that's the Raquel we get, then I have no problem with this. I was a little hesitant originally because of Raquel's ability, but if we keep getting that Raquel, I could see them just continuing to do tag stuff. I actually think they probably end up being in a tag match at Mania, is what I have.
Really? One of the hardest questions is, what does Liv Morgan's road to WrestleMania look like? She can do so many things. And I think that the little nugget of they get a tag title match changes everything. And I think that it depends on where that match is placed. I think that if that match is placed after the Elimination Chamber, I think Liv's stock rises like crazy to win that match and go to a triple threat match at WrestleMania against Rhea and Io. I do think that that's where we're going to lean with it. And I think that I have that thought because I think the placement of having Rhea versus Io on the Raw after Chamber is too convenient. Liv is going to come out and go, I had to go and fight in the Chamber to get this title match. Why in the world is Io getting this right now? She doesn't deserve this, and I want Rhea Ripley. I don't want Io, right? I want my ultimate revenge. And we're going to somehow parlay that. It's going to roll downhill, and we're going to get a triple threat match at Mania. But if the title match comes before Chamber, I think that they win those titles and they do some tag team work at WrestleMania. Against who? I really don't know. that would be another question for another day. I really don't know there, but Liv Morgan's path is it's still very, very open with many, many different roads.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could definitely see the triple threat happening. I definitely think it brings some stuff into question, at least, because like you said, the placement of the EO stuff is a little too convenient, right? You think that something's going to happen as well. But I also I don't know what's next for EO in terms of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's package them together. So we got Rhea versus EO happening on the Raw after Elimination Chamber. That's obviously their road to WrestleMania. That's going to be the biggest match on Raw since Raw to Netflix. It's going to be a big deal because the winner of that match is carrying the title into WrestleMania. So what does that road look like? Does EO pull off the victory? Does Rhea just dismantle EO and then EO doesn't have a WrestleMania match? I mean, what in the world does happen here?
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the big question mark in terms of like, I was really unsure with this because I was like, God, I sat there and thought. I think the Liv and Raquel stuff, like I said, I think they're going to have the tag titles. I think they're going to defend them at Mania, maybe win at Mania. I have EO obviously losing to Rhea here in terms of that match. I don't think there's any shenanigans. I don't think there's no shenanigans, no baloney, no malarkey. We're doing it. I don't think there's anything there. Now, as much as myself really kind of built that up in my head in terms of that needs to be a Mania match or a triple threat, to your point, in terms of that would be fantastic. I'm really kind of preparing myself, and maybe that's the reason why I'm not thinking it. I'm preparing myself to be let down. I'm preparing myself for that not to happen. I think EO gets the loss to Rhea. I think we end up getting her and Dakota Kai versus Liv and Raquel at Mania. We just run that match back that we saw at Raw. I think maybe we just run that back for the tag titles at Mania.
First off, I would love that. I mean, you can argue that Liv needs more, but the match on Raw was spectacular, so give them WrestleMania.
You can say that for EO too, but I mean, that match was phenomenal.
Yeah, if you want to do that, do it. I'm going to call my shot, though. I really think Liv is going to win the Elimination Chamber and is going to show up on the Raw after Chamber and be pissed that EO got this shot. I think that it's going to lead to some sort of interference that either disqualifies Rhea and gets her the champion's advantage win over Io Sky, when then Io Sky is going to come back and be like, well, what the hell? Come on. You gave me a title match, but now it ends like this. And I think we just roll it all together into one big ball and we get ourselves Rhea versus Io Sky versus Liv Morgan at WrestleMania. I just think that is the perfect buffer. Like I've said before, nobody really wants to see straight up Liv and Rhea again. People wanted to see Rhea and Io, but you also have a giant part of the fan base that do want to see Liv in the big moments. So how do you do it? You hug them all together and you say, hey, here's your triple threat match at WrestleMania. And it don't matter because Rhea's still going to stack you both and pin you and walk out the winner.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that, I definitely think, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be upset if that's the match. I'm going to be happy if that's the match. I'm going to love it, even though we kind of all know the outcome, right? I get fearful that that's not going to happen. And maybe, like I said, just preparing myself because Io deserves that. I think Liv deserves that as well. But they've kind of put themselves in a corner. I mean, you need to almost have Liv win that chamber match.
Yeah.
For anything to kind of make sense. But who knows?
Yeah. We skipped over one of the women.
Mm-hmm.
Lyra Valkyria.
No, we didn't just skip over
Lyra.
Raw skipped over her too.
Raw has been skipping over her. Last week on Raw, she lost clean to Bayley in a Elimination Chamber qualifier match. That was her first match on Raw, on WWE programming since winning the IC title. Not a very good look there. Mm-mm. She is going to take the IC title into WrestleMania. What does Lyra Valkyria's road to WrestleMania look like? Yeah,
I think this was pretty telling. The match with Bayley, that maybe they don't know what to do. Maybe they don't care that they don't know what to do. I don't know. It's one of the two things, right? I think you have her continue with the backstage stuff in terms of Maxine Dupree, in terms of Ivy Nile. I mean, there's a lot of women on Raw. I'm still shooting my shot. I'm standing by it. We're getting the 6-woman ladder match at Mania. I'm standing by it. I think you continue to have her kind of just continue with the backstage stuff. I want this title. No, I want this title, in terms of everybody coming from every which direction here. I think you kind of have like an impromptu tournament, right? In terms of like maybe Maxine beats Ivy one week, but then Ivy beats, Bayley, even though Bayley's not going to be anywhere near this, but just for sake of example, you just have this bunch of chaos around it all. And then eventually that's what that kind of leads to. They've shown me they don't really have a plan for this. So when WWE doesn't have a plan, what do? They throw multi-people matches at things.
That's fair. That's fair. I think the loss to Bayley was on purpose in terms of setting up the Becky Lynch match that I'm going to stick by. I think that in the meantime, we are probably going to get an Elimination Chamber, I want to say. We're going to get Lyra versus Ivy because that's obviously the feud that they're booking right at the moment. But I do think we're going to get the eventual Becky Lynch turn. Maybe there's even some like buddy, shade that Bayley throws at Lyra, like, hey, in a few years, you'll be on a 4 horsewoman level, right? Something like that. And then you get the returning Becky Lynch, then Lyra being like, look, I got to prove that I can do this. Like, I am on the level of the 4 horsewomen. I would love to have the honor in challenging you at WrestleMania. And then, of course, Becky Lynch and Lyra have that buddy, respect to each other. And I think Becky gives her the match. And then I think we get ourselves Lyra versus Becky at WrestleMania. And I don't really know who would win it. I would hope Lyra, but that would be my storybook storytelling for Lyra Valkyria and that IC title.
Yeah, I shake my head no. You're probably right in terms of her winning, but at the same time, anything is kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
In terms of how good I think they booked the women's U.S. title, they've done equally as bad with the women's IC title. So nothing really kind of surprises me. If somebody were to say something completely random, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. Why not?
Jordan Grace, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've got a bunch of heavy hitters left here, except one guy kind of sticks out here in terms of path that I've got.
Okay.
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn.
We're just going to take the easy one out of the way here.
Yes.
That path, I think he's going to be off screen for a bit.
He's hurted.
Same thing. Yeah. Same thing that we talked about with multiple people, which is kind of weird because you're like, man, you're missing this person and this person and this. And you get a day off and you get a day. Everybody gets a day off. Sami kind of deserves it. It makes sense here storyline wise. I think you have him off TV for a couple of weeks. Everybody that gets that package pile driver seems to be, which is fantastic. I love that. Mm-hmm. I think you have him return at Chamber to a triumphant roar from the home country crowd, and then you have him haluva kick Kevin Owens, and he says, "You're not putting me down, Kevin. I want to see you at WrestleMania." And then that's what we do there.
Yeah, it's Kevin versus Sami at Mania. Not much else to say. My only wish list item for this would be that his road looks like you add the comedy back into Sami Zayn. He shows up weekly in a wheelchair with a big old neck brace on, and he yells at Kevin Owens every week. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. Some old school WWE overselling of injuries would be hilarious, but obviously their rivalry is very serious in tone, and so they would never do that. But you know what? I think it would be pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we got Gunther versus Jay, so we're not going to do either of them because their path is set in stone. It's pretty easy.
Just keep doing what they did the last week on Raw.
One that we go back and forth on a lot is the man who pinned the Hall of Famer, the legend, Rey Mysterio, clean as a whistle on Raw last week. We got Logan Paul. What does his road to WrestleMania look like for you?
Yeah, this is tough.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say it's tough. There's 2 options for me.
Oh.
In the Chamber. Obviously, we know he's in the Chamber. We know that Chamber field's stacked. It's 1 of 2 options for me, and I found myself... I close my eyes, I choose left. But then I close my eyes the next time I choose right. It's heads or tails. I don't know. He's either taking on CM Punk or he's taking on John Cena. Oh. I've come to terms with it. I came to terms with it. I sat there and I stared at my phone as I typed my list up on it. And I said, you got to be kidding me. And then I backspaced and I said, there's got to be a way I can get out of this. And then I typed the same thing and I said, it's going to be one of these 2. I think you continue to have him just cut a promo here or there. He can cut a promo, send in a promo. He doesn't really need anything. He shows up the week before Chamber talking about how he's going to win Chamber. You have that little segment where maybe everybody, I'm going to win the Chamber. No, I'm going to win it. Maybe you have that. I always like that. I think you have him pin CM Punk in Chamber. And I think we get Logan Paul versus CM Punk at WrestleMania. Yeah, it's not exactly one that I'm excited for. It makes it really hard for me to kind of fathom, but at the same time, it's the better of the 2 options. I would much rather that be the case than have him versus Cena at Mania.
I was looking at this and I almost started crying. It's that simple. Right now, the way that they're doing this thing, it does feel like it's either going to be John Cena or CM Punk. And to even think about Logan Paul taking John Cena's last WrestleMania match from him makes me just my skin crawl. And then at the same time, you look at the other side of the coin and it's like, okay, how many good years does CM Punk really have at this level? How many WrestleManias does he have left as well? So he'd be taking one of CM Punk's last WrestleManias. I mean, get that out of here. And I'm a guy who doesn't even hate Logan Paul's heel work as much as the average wrestling fan, right? I know he can go in the ring, but those are just two guys I want him to stay away from. I know I already think that AJ Styles is going to be in the IC title scene come WrestleMania, but in my opinion, best case scenario would be somehow split AJ Styles from the IC scene, even if that takes us away from a great Sheamus, Braun Breaker, AJ Styles match, and then we bring up the Royal Rumble elimination of Logan Paul and AJ Styles, and we do it that way. I still wouldn't like that, but I would like that a hell of a lot more than him taking CM Punk or John Cena's moment at WrestleMania. Yeah, get that man out of here.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I feel. That's the tough part, right? Ugh. Like I said, you keep typing it and you're like, God, one of these is going to happen. I don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen.
Well, we're talking about him. CM Punk. Every week he's out there pointing to that damn Mania sign and saying Mania 41 is going to be mine, but he keeps failing over and over again. What in the world is his road to WrestleMania going to look like from here on out?
He's kind of over-promising, under-delivering.
Yep.
Just like the Chiefs. They promised a three-peat and they didn't deliver. I think he probably has the, I would say the most interesting path. Out of everybody for WWE, I think CM Punk has the most interesting path. I think, like I said, he loses the chamber. I think he gets pinned by Logan Paul. I think that sets up for them at Mania. Now, I think we bounce back and forth the favor idea, right? I think everybody's like favor. Who's to say that the favor has to take place by Mania? I think everybody kind of has that in their head, but I came to the realization today of it doesn't have to be at Mania. It doesn't have to be soon. So I think what ends up happening is I think the favor from CM Punk to Paul Heyman is going to be, hey, Paul, I need you to make sure I win this chamber match. Maybe he doesn't win the chamber match, right? So Punk gets pissed at Paul. So Punk starts getting pissed at Paul. Long story short, at the end of the day, you got Roman pissed because that's my wise man. How can you get pissed at my wise man? That's my wise man. I don't care. You're not a Paul Heyman guy anymore. And I think that eventually sets up, maybe you're looking at like a SummerSlam Punk Roman, something like that. I mean, SummerSlam being 2 nights, I believe, right? So you need something big there. I came to the realization today that the favor is probably not going to be cashed in as early as we think in terms of it being Mania specific.
I'm going to go ahead and throw the idea out the window of Logan Paul versus CM Punk for his road to WrestleMania, but I'm not going to throw the idea out of him getting pinned in the Elimination Chamber. I just think it's going to come from Roman coming into the chamber to go after Seth Rollins for the revenge on the hellacious stomps that he took after the Royal Rumble, right? And I think that one way, shape, or form, Roman's interference will lead to CM Punk getting pinned. I don't care if it's by Logan Paul, fine. But it's going to lead to Roman Reigns wanting a match against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and that's that. And the favor, I think, is going to be as simple as CM Punk inserting himself into that match and getting the triple threat. I think it's as simple as CM Punk saying, no, you know what? I hate both these guys. I want to put both these guys down. I want to prove that I'm better than both of them. I don't really know how greatly or I don't know how much the IWC would love that idea, but I don't think that the favor is going to be Paul Heyman pulling strings and getting CM Punk randomly into a title match. Because if Paul has that pull, he'd be pulling for Roman to be in a title match right now, in my opinion. So I think CM Punk's Mania road is simple. I think it will be failure at Chamber and then inserting himself into the Roman Seth Rollins feud.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could just kind of combine those two with this right now. Yep. We could just pivot right into that, flow right into it. You said the triple threat match. I had that idea as well, but then I came to the thought process of, I don't want that. I want this to be the Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns Mania, and I just want it to be that. That's why I think the favor is maybe, hey, Paul, make sure I win this match some way, somehow. You could say that doesn't make any sense, whatever. I don't care. But some way, somehow, I think Punk Roman is going to be what we get out of that, right? I think the favor, we all know that's going to happen. I think the favor's been built up a little bit too much to be thrown into like a random, well, it's not random, but thrown into a triple threat match, right? Everybody wants to see Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. It's almost like if not now, when sort of thing. When do we really get that? I think we were there the last time those two fought at Royal Rumble.
The chokeout.
Yeah, the chokeout. So I think Seth Rollins is going to beat Finn Balor. I think he's going to get Roman is going to cost him at Chamber some way, somehow, whether that's a run in, like you said, or who knows. But I think that is going to be the case. I think eventually that's just going to lead to that feud. I think you have Roman off TV for a while until Chamber. I think he makes his return and he costs Rollins, and you're like, oh my God, we thought Roman Reigns was down and out. We didn't know when he would come back, sort of thing. And I think you have that. I think you just have that specific to just them two. Not saying I wouldn't mind the triple threat match, don't get me wrong, but if you don't have Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns now at Mania, the grandest stage of them all, with everything that's happened with them, when are you going to have it?
Completely agree. Yeah. The road to WrestleMania for Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, I think, align right next to each other. I think they're two speeding cars aiming at the same target. I think that Seth Rollins gets the win over Finn Balor, goes to Chamber, and then I think Roman Reigns returns to Chamber. He's not actually as injured as people think, and he goes after Seth Rollins. And I think that no matter what, Roman and Seth are going on the WrestleMania card together. The only asterisk is if CM Punk gets added to that. And I do foresee that happening. I do think that that's going to be part of the favor, like I just said. I'm with you. I would rather it be Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. I think that they deserve a WrestleMania level moment. That it's a 10-year rivalry. We can go on for days and days about that, but I just think that it's one of those times in wrestling when there's a guy who is one of the top guys and there's not really a better place to put him. And I think that right now CM Punk is that guy. They're not going to put him there. I don't think they're going to insert him into a random match or random title match. So I think he's going to be slotted right here. The Royal Rumble shenanigans that happened, I think points right to that. So I think that honestly, it's a 3-lane road with all three cars aiming at the same target, which is a WrestleMania match between Seth, Roman, Punk.
So then you have that main event, night one?
I don't think it main events.
So then why would it be the favor?
No, that's true. You could have Gunther and Jay go on first. You could have Yeet Mania kick off WrestleMania, which I
think if that's the case, I think you would end up having to put Rollins in, because that's the only way that the favor would make any sense.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Is it would have to main event.
100%.
So, that might be the case. It might be like, hey, this is my chance to get into it. So that just leaves one man.
This is the very last road to WrestleMania for John Cena. It is the farewell tour. It is time. The last time is now. What does the very last road to WrestleMania look like for Mr. John Cena?
I wrestled with this idea because I said, for Logan Paul specifically, I think there's two options. It's either the CM Punk route kind of, or it's John Cena. And I hope it's not John Cena. So got John Cena winning the Chamber. I'm doubling down, tripling down on it. I think everybody that's like, oh, well, you don't need to rush the title on him right now. If you don't do it at Mania, I mean, that's the best stage to do it, in my opinion. I think the story just makes sense with Cody in terms of not being able to handle the pressure. Cena's what's best for business, but you start seeing cracks in Cody's armor about he's not really what's best for business anymore because he's lashing out all the time. You get John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, the ultimate baby face of baby faces, right? In terms of the last generation, maybe. Cena goes over at WrestleMania. I think he gets number 17. Cody would be more than happy to let John beat him. I mean, it's Cody Rhodes. Everybody wants to see him lose at Mania anyway, right? I don't think there's much more of a storybook ending in terms of the WrestleMania career for Cena.
I will die before I say the road to WrestleMania is John Cena and Logan Paul feuding for his very last WrestleMania slot. You will not hear me say it. I think John Cena is going to win the Elimination Chamber, and he is going to go on to have one of the best 1 month long builds up in WrestleMania history to him and Cody. I think that those promos write themselves with the Cody Lander versus the Cena who's been there, done that 16 times. The old wise man versus, Obi-Wan Anakin, basically. It's Star Wars. It's amazing. And it's going to be a phenomenal match at WrestleMania, I think. And I do think they give John Cena the title. I think he wins number 17. And I think that will be a mind-clearing moment for Cody Rhodes. Obviously, he gets it back ASAP, in my opinion. I don't think Cena holds the belt for very long. But that's the road to WrestleMania. Winning the Chamber, being up there versus the hottest guy in all of wrestling. And we get ourselves one last final great road to WrestleMania for our boy Cena.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I probably have a different opinion in terms of maybe Cody winning that back right away. Maybe Cena feuds with somebody else. And maybe he drops somebody else. But that's a different conversation for a different time. I mean, if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it?
Yep.
You really need those two to face each other for John's last run. And I mean, it's WrestleMania. It just makes sense. Like, I understand people may not want to see that. I get it. Or maybe they think, oh, well, Punk versus Cody. I get that as well. But
tough.
Yeah, it just makes so much sense here.
We're like,
it just makes so much sense.
Come out to all of it. Dr. Thugonomics.
Yeah, and you could have Dr. Thugonomics come out one week and he faces Stardust, right?
He calls him out on a rap battle.
He comes out and then Stardust comes out, right? Why not? Why not do it?
Let's get stupid on this road to WrestleMania.
Why not, right? Let's just have some fun with it. It's Cena's last run, so I mean, it's gonna be amazing. And there's nobody else I'd rather pick in WWE than, I mean, maybe Punk, but I'm picking Cody. Like, that's my guy. That's your guy, John Cena. Like, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be amazing, and I can't wait. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you think all these past WrestleMania look like. And if you didn't watch our SmackDown one, we released a SmackDown one, so go back and watch that. We've now hit basically everybody. We got our roads set. We'll see how well we do on it. I want to hear your guys' roads in the comments. So follow us on all of our socials at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts at, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. We have a link tree in our bio. It's got all of it in there. Go ahead and follow all of it. Comment on our stuff. We love hearing from you. And then, of course, come watch Raw with us tonight. We do live streams right here, watch-alongs on YouTube. Raw, SmackDown, PLEs. We'd be happy to see you all in there. So let's have a good time. But I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.